welcome to another episode of Walk Worthy, and this is a very, very special episode. So if I were to just put on a list of questions or requests that I get, they're like, hey, when are you gonna sit down with your wife? We wanna hear from her. And today we're hanging out with the legend, my bride, Hope Broome.
Miss Hope.
Yeah, and I thought, like, hey, I think it would be so great to bring in someone that we love and we trust, in Zach, who is an incredible friend. And we're just gonna navigate through the totality of our story, but also just dive into some of the questions that we get so often from you guys. So here we go.
Here we go. Well, first off, guys, thank you so much for entrusting me with the opportunity to sit down and unpack your story at a deeper level. And you guys together, I've heard it from Josh's perspective, Hope, a lot of times, and so has the audience. But now we get to learn if he was telling the truth by bringing Hope into the conversation. I know a lot of the audience, Josh, is they're familiar with your story, familiar with your testimony, coming out of the adult film industry, and you've mentioned that you kind of tried to cover the bad dirt with better dirt to make it seem like you weren't dirty. You jumped into CrossFit, owning gyms, operating in that space, and that's kind of where your guys' love story began. So I want to start with you. What was the first day like when you first laid your eyes on this lady?
Yeah, well, so here's the thing, like with CrossFit, it's like, especially back in the day, if you were good at gymnastics, like you had like a one up on everyone else. Like if you could hold a handstand for like 5 seconds, like you were legit. But the in walks this girl who was always wearing like Iowa Hawkeye stuff. And like obviously she's like, okay, I was a college athlete, I'm legit. But she was just like kicking everyone's butts. But like, she didn't talk trash. She didn't like make much of herself. She just like worked really hard and was better than most people. And she was gorgeous. So I was just like, man, I'm intrigued by this girl.
Yes.
But she wasn't very intrigued by me initially. So, but yeah, I just thought the world of you. And man, I remember like I was so insecure, but confident at the same time, like insecure about who I was in my past and looking to hide so much and trying to, seem as if I had it together while just dying inside. And I just saw you and I was just like, man, do you want to hang out?
And Hope, you obviously had an athletic background. He brags on you that you were the W in Iowa. Help us understand, help the audience understand, how significant is that for a moment?
Oh, I don't know.
Come on, that's a pretty big deal.
I don't know. So, we just, when you score a touchdown, they have the flags in each of the corners, and we would just go to our designated corner, and W was the best, so that's where I went.
But incredibly athletic, because I saw a video he posted the other day, just up at Snowflex with that trampoline thing, doing a backflip and stuff. How long were you a cheerleader for?
So I wasn't a cheerleader initially. So I grew up doing gymnastics since I was 4, went all through high school, and then was like, let's try something new. And so I just walk into
you had a significant injury your senior year.
Yeah, and I was, So I had sprained my ankle pretty bad, didn't get to compete my senior year. I was like, all right, let's try something different. And so I was like, let's just go for something similar, but something I didn't really like have any background in. So I was like, I'm gonna try out for cheerleading at a Division I school. Why not? And I made it, and so.
Yeah, you're just thinking about like, can you tumble? Like, are you familiar with these things? She's like, oh, the stuff that you think is hard, I've been doing since I was 7 years old.
Right, of course. And so I'm thinking about your athletic background and getting into CrossFit, right? Like, what brought you to this gym that one random day? And can you take us back to that memory in that moment?
So I had started CrossFit because I needed something like doing gymnastics my entire life, and then doing cheerleading, I needed something to keep me on track and motivated. So that's why I started with CrossFit. And I started in Iowa and then moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. And it's really crazy. So I had tried out 2 separate gyms, and he was a coach at one of them that I had tried out, because I went on spring break before I moved there in the summer. And I tried out these 2 gyms, and I was like, I kind of like that one. It was okay. And then I tried out another gym where we met, and I really liked that one. I was like, okay, that's the one I'm going to go to. But come to find out later that he had coached at the other gym as well. So no matter which gym
there was no escape.
He was gonna be there.
Yeah. And was he pretty hot and heavy about you? Like, he claims that he was going after you and asking you out a couple of times. Like, is that true?
Yes, I guess. I did turn him down a few times. I always thought you were handsome.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. But then there's a moment where you say yes to that first date. And we've heard the story from Josh's perspective, but I would love for you to take us into that first date, what it looked like. By the way, you guys went on a run on your first date. You guys are sickos. Me and my wife, we went and got a burger and ice cream and butt like normal people, a run. But take us back to that first date.
I had to make him work for it.
But I would say like like that would have never been my idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
First date, Hope, take us there.
So he was continuing to ask, and I was like, okay, well, I go for a run, like on Sundays before I go to church, and he was like, okay. I was like, all right, it's early, it's like 6 a.m. Like, are you sure you want to come? And he met me there, so.
And he shows up.
He made it at 6 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I get asked the most is, when I drop this bomb on you of like, my life is a disaster in a way that most people would just like absolutely run for the hills. You didn't. I mean, I just think that it's not that like you are incredible. Number one, you're everything to me. But I think like the significance of surrender in a moment when the Holy Spirit is literally like putting words in your mouth that you would never say and giving you the confidence to react in a way that you never would. I think like when you tell that, as humble as you are, I don't think that you're gonna have any problem boasting about the Spirit of God.
That's right.
Would you just share what allowed you to hear, I'm a mess. I've even done like pornography. I've done all this stuff. I'm obviously not like, not the typical like guy that you go to seek out to build a life with. What allowed you to respond in that moment? Like not saying like, hey, this is going to be eventually my husband, but what allowed you to respond with any amount of grace?
Yeah, and like you said, it truly was like the Holy Spirit working in me, but I grew up like my parents always like there was nothing I could tell them that they weren't going to like be there and support and like help us figure out. So like having that like background growing up with my parents always going to forgive us. Like it didn't matter if we like broke a vase or if we got a DUI. Like, you know what I mean? Like it didn't matter. Like the severity of the problem wasn't going to keep them from like loving us. So I think growing up with that is like how I could approach you telling me something like I had never, you were like, I got a pretty heavy background. And I'm like, okay.
Beat up a guy or what?
Right, like I didn't know I would never have guessed that. Nobody really expects that.
No.
Yeah.
Somebody to tell you that.
No. Of course
But
not.
I think.
And I would even love to dive into even your perspective of it. I know you shared it before, but like how difficult was that to just genuinely be honest and open to a girl that you were interested in about because you actually saw a potential future with this woman? And do we have to go into those dark moments?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like up until that moment, I lived my life where I'm hiding everything I can, and if whatever gets found out, I'll just deal with it as it happens. But I mean, to be clear, it's like I wasn't like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be a man of integrity and I'm gonna tell you everything up front because I want you to know that that's who I am. No, there was like a fear that man, there's no way. A girl like you would want anything to do with me if she knew who I was. So I was honestly like trying to like guard myself from getting hurt like from the jump. And I'm like, man, just so you know, like this is how bad I am. And my 100% assumption is you'd be like, okay, well, time for you to leave. Or, maybe like a punch to the throat or something like, I mean, I was certain that I would tell you that, and then that would be the end of whatever it was.
Yeah. And I feel like where I was previously, so like when I moved to Raleigh, that's when I started like really seeking like a relationship with the Lord, where before I was just kind of like checking the boxes.
Yeah.
So that was like, it was like a pivotal moment, me moving to Raleigh, being on my own and feeling this gap in my life and seeking out a church and realizing, okay, I need a relationship. And it was like maybe a month before this that I was like really starting to get back like to building that relationship with God. And so, I mean, that's how I could have like allowing the Holy Spirit to like work in me, because normally I would have been like, all right,
and so funny, like,
see you later.
And then like just knowing you, like, and the person I do, it's like so calculated, so organized, like,
I had
like,
a plan for my life, and like this is what it was going to look
like
like. And a lot of people.
Like when we go on road trips, like she packs stuff, like just in case something might happen that involves Plan B, if and maybe if in that, it's just like, who are you?
But then again, like you said, that you were willing enough to be an open vessel for the Holy Spirit to come and have his way in that particular moment, which really I think was the start of something beautiful and transformative in both of your lives. Because I know I've heard Josh share how you responded when he told you just the mess of what maybe his life had looked like up to that point, and maybe out of embarrassment or humiliation or guarding his own heart. And you respond by saying you're not defined by the worst thing you've ever done, and you're not defined by the best thing you'll ever do, because you don't get to define you. You're only defined by a God that exists out of time, matter, and space. And I do want to touch on this, like, what in the world was going through you when somebody responds with such grace and humility that you maybe have never even received before?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, well, because what she had said essentially was the polar opposite of what I believed.
Right.
In that I believed with every bone in my body that I was defined by the dad I didn't have, the bad decisions that I made, the porn that was on the internet, the people that I hurt, like those were not like things that happened to me and things that I did. Those were the things that made up the essence of my identity.
Yeah.
That's who I was, not what I did. That's who I was. So when she said, well, that's actually not true, because you don't define you, what it made me believe was like, gosh, like, could that be true?
Right.
Like, could that, is there a source of both identity and meaning and maybe even forgiveness that's like so outside of the bounds of what I believed that, my world was. So it was like, it created both curiosity, and I'm like, man, could that be true? And if it is true, is that available to me?
Wow. And Hope, I want to jump to you here, because to stick on this moment, you don't respond with that level of grace and humility and love and acceptance and forgiveness without having like a foundation of faith that has already been there in your personal life. And I would love just to hear a little bit more from you, maybe about your upbringing, your testimony, like what led you? I heard you say that this was more of a relational season of your life with the Lord, being in Raleigh. You're out there really exploring and being intimate with him personally, but like what led you to this moment and this response?
Yeah. So like to start at the very beginning, I grew up Catholic, very much so like let's kneel and stand and recite the prayers that you've been taught, not having a relationship at all, just thinking like repenting, like I need my sins to be forgiven, like just feeling like works-based, I guess. Like I need to do so that I can be like accepted. So growing up Catholic, not really having a relationship with Jesus. And then 7th grade, my brother and I went to like a middle school youth group. Like all our friends were going, so we were like, yeah, we'll go too. And I remember, so we went to, they took us on this field trip to a church like 30 minutes away, and they were having this play. It was called Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames. And like, it sounds as intense as it was.
Right.
I mean, it was like, if you have not placed your faith in Jesus and accepted him as Lord and Savior, and you get in a car accident and you die, like, and then like the flames, like,
That's
I mean,
right.
it was intense. Like,
Scared the hell out of you.
the crap out of us. So both my brother and I remember, and I think everybody in our youth group, at the end, they did like an altar call, and we were running. We were like, we are not going to hell. So that's like, that was when I say I was saved. But from then on, it was still just like my prayers were just revolved around like, Lord, please forgive me for, you know, being mean to my sister, and please forgive me for thinking this about, you know, my friend, or what. It was just like really surface level. So that's like what I grew up with. And we went to church like every Sunday. Like my parents both believed, and everybody in my family are believers, but it just there was no relationship. And so I went to college and did the party scene and really took on the I'm a college cheerleader.
Yeah.
Look at me type of thing. And it was a very dark time and lots of bad choices. So when I graduated and moved away, I was like, okay, this is my time to figure this out, because this is not the way I want my life to go.
Yeah.
So I found a non-denominational church, just like on my own. Like, I was like, here I am. I'm going to this church. I don't know anybody here. Nobody was going with me. And I just like really, I mean, I was like, that was my low. Yeah. I know to some people that's not like that low, but I was just lonely.
Yeah.
And so that's when I like really heard the gospel, and I was like, whoa, like God wants a relationship with me. Like he wants to be my friend, like wants to hear from me, not just about the bad things that I've done. So I think that was a really like life-changing moment, like hearing the true gospel and not just reciting.
Right.
Not that there's anything, I mean, I don't have anything against the Catholic Church, but for me, I wasn't learning to build a relationship. I was learning to recite, and
yeah, I mean,
kind of where it ended.
there's elements of liturgy that are important
Absolutely.
and helpful.
Right. Yeah.
But like if there's no like independent dependency on the person of Jesus in a relationship, you're missing out on what you need most.
That's right.
But I just want to like double tap on something. It's like, man, you shared a little bit, but like your family is awesome. And I always like jokingly say, it's like, I feel like our family like fell out of the Hallmark Channel. it's like have the TV like dump them out. Oh. But it's like, I just remember like one of the first times, I think it was before we were engaged, but like we go and like, we're at your grandparents in Chicago, and like your sister Christy was like, I don't think you knew that she was coming, or maybe she like didn't tell you if she coming, and like, so it's like, I don't know how long it had been, but maybe it had been like a month or two, 6 months since they've seen each other. But like they see each other and they're both just like bawling and crying. And I'm just like, what is this? Like, what's happening? Yeah. But just, would you just share like, I mean, I don't think you're gonna have any problem like gassing up your mom and dad, but like your family's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have been married they just celebrated their 40th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I think. So yeah, they've been married for 40 years, and I'm the middle child, so I have an older brother and a younger sister, and we're all very close. Like, we text and talk pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Often talk on three-way also.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
FaceTime, and yeah. But yeah, I mean, I really loved the way I grew up, and appreciate like the way that they raised us.
That's right. Yeah. So a lot of stability and security within the home.
Yep.
And then also, like you said, you're now learning that during this particular season, that it wasn't about what we could do or not do, but it's about what has already been done through the blood of the Lamb. And that's a beautiful thing when it moves from just ritualistic or repetitive in nature, which we need those things as it relates to spiritual discipline, but relationship, like you said, you start going to this church, you're exposed to the gospel for the first time. And after this conversation, this interaction, you invite this dude to church with you.
Yep.
And I want to touch on that because what was that experience like for you going to church with this girl that you just went on a first run date with?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't sure about church, but I was sure that I wanted to go wherever she was.
That's right.
But I would say that also there was like something about, because for some reason, and I think like this could speak to someone like, man, how do we reach more people? What's like, it's you don't change the gospel, but like the methods in which you utilize the gospel to reach people, because the gospel doesn't change, but our methods can.
Yes.
And there was just something that was like, for some reason, like less abrasive or more like ritualistic about. She was like, there's a church that meets on a Saturday night at 4 o'clock. I was like, 4 o'clock? We could even eat dinner after that. Like 4 o'clock?
Genius.
I was like,
planning the date.
I was like, Saturday, that doesn't seem like, maybe a guy like me could show up to a church on a Saturday, not a Sunday, but maybe a Saturday. So there was something about her saying like, oh, Saturday night. And then we go there, and I've got all these like preconceived notions about what church is like, and they were really from like just a few experiences as a very young kid, but like it was a very like Southern Baptist, like legalistic, like, if you don't have a shirt and tie on, and if you've got tattoos on your body or wrinkles on your shirt, you're going to hell, So I just thought, man, there was it was not a place that I had any business in, and I should not be there, but I'm gonna go there. And then I get there, and then, Pastor Mike Lee hops up on stage, and he's got cowboy boots and jeans and a tattoo and like a puka shell necklace on.
Come on.
I'm just like, man. And this guy is like, deep Southern accent, like sounds like my grandpa. And I'm like, man, I can listen to this guy.
Yeah.
And he just preaches the paint off the walls, and he shares that, that story that I've shared a bunch of times out of 2 Samuel, and just like creates this narrative where, in the same way Mephibosheth couldn't fathom the grace that was being offered to him by David, I'm like, man, I don't think I'm deserving of this, and no one is. Right. But I don't even think I have access to this, because if my own father didn't want me, what place could I have in a kingdom like that? And he went from there to the Hebrews 12:2, and there was just something about that joy element. And it was just, it was so, it was one of those things where we were there together, and it was the church was full, but it was like one of those moments where it was just like Mike was just talking to me. And in retrospect, it was less even, I don't even know if Mike was in the room, I don't even know if like Pastor Mike was there in that. It was just like the Holy Spirit.
The effective calling.
It's like speaking to me. Yeah. And like I had a very prophetic and clear like experience where like I was shown Romans 5:8 before I knew what Romans 5:8 was, and that I had showed there was a picture of a father that was saving me, and then I didn't know what to do but to fall on my knees and surrender and make Jesus my Lord, my Savior. And it's in that moment, it's like if I couldn't have cried or snotted anymore, then of course and then the worship starts and they play Good Father. And I just lose my mind. And it's just like, that was the thing that I've been longing for my whole life. Wow. I wanted a good father. And that's who he is,
That's exactly who he is.
And that's the day that, my life changed.
Right.
And I love that, I like to call it the Trinity of Hope, where Hope invited me to this church that was Hope Community Church, where I encountered the hope that we can find in the person of Jesus Christ. And it's just a special moment.
The Trinity of Hope. I love that. I love that hope. Just thinking back to that moment particularly, and like watching and observing Josh literally fall down on his knees in that moment and have an encounter with the one true living God. What you've seen and experienced since that moment, like what were the next several days and months looking like for Josh? Like, was there an evident change? What was that looking like in your relationship?
Yeah, so I mean, we're like, this is date two. Right?
Literally.
Like, so I'm like, hey,
Whoa.
are you okay? Like, you're like wet, dripping. Like, is everything all right?
Yeah.
But I don't even know. I don't even know what we did after that. But we started to text a lot, and the conversations, like, I think it was just like he was now picturing, like, okay, I have this like future ahead of me that I never had planned or thought that I could have for myself. And so I think it was just like an exciting time, not just because like, like excitement of like, oh, I like this person and like we've got a lot to talk about and like maybe there's a future between us. But it was like, for him, it was like, there's like a future.
Yeah.
That doesn't just end with me,
Wow.
my past.
Yeah. And you being able to see that in like each other.
Yeah.
And I want to ask this question because it might be something that some people would ask you, Hope, is in knowing you came from a very secure, close-knit family, with that comes like the protection aspect.
Yeah.
So like when they found out, maybe as you're obviously getting to know Josh and you guys are spending more time together and maybe they find out a little bit about his past.
Yeah.
Was there some hesitancy or like, Hope, you need to hold up for a second. Like you need to make sure he's telling the truth here. There's actual change. Like what did that look like in your life?
Yeah. So I haven't thought about that a whole lot, but there was hesitancy in that. And I mean, I think just as a mom now myself, there would be some hesitancy for my kids to be doing that too. But I think once they met him and saw him and that realized like, this is not the life that he wants to continue living, but it's also not the life he is living currently. It's like it is past. And like, I think knowing that my parents, I mean, everybody has a past of some sort, right? And mistakes that we've made. So, and just like the forgiveness, they're like, this is my child and this is what like God is calling them to do. Like, how can we like interfere with that? So, I mean, yes, there was, but also I think they trusted
your judgment.
Yeah, my judgment and knowing that
Yeah.
I wasn't making this choice
But
recklessly.
that blew my mind. The way that I would say it, I mean, not in the same way that the way you responded to me blew my mind, but the fact that they were accepting of me.
Yeah.
And like willing to trust their
especially
daughter.
the deeper our relationship got and the more I understood, because like you were, I mean, maybe I'm just crazy and I just like don't like I've never experienced it, but just like your relationship with your family is like nothing like I've ever seen or experienced or heard, only saw on TV. But your family's like that also. So I mean, so I love that we're all together now.
Yes.
But for me, just like the way that they responded to my past, because it was another layer of God reminding me, like God using people who are His children to remind me that I'm not defined by what I did. I'm like. The thing that defines me, the thing that defines me the most is the fact that Jesus laid down His life for me and His blood covers me. So it's like, that sounds good, but what does that look like lived out? Well, it looks like her mom and dad hearing like the tragedy of my past and being like, okay, well, let's see it out,
I want to double down on this concept of forgiveness because you both have been chatting about it the entire time. And I'm just thinking about, I want to start with Josh here for a moment. Like in knowing that you've opened up a lot about your past and you've spoken all over the world about this topic and how God has transformed your life, one of the hardest people to forgive is yourself. Especially as like you're getting to know somebody and you're starting to think like, oh my goodness, my past might actually disqualify me from this person's love for me to opening up this relationship that I'm desperately wanting to pursue. But like, where does self-forgiveness begin?
I think it's like one thing for you to have said things to me, but seeing it lived out and, seeing like the pushback online or even, in some like sub communities, not necessarily like malicious words, but just like, how do you not have like some contentment towards Him because like you guys are now together and you know, at that time they're like, maybe you'll have kids one day, like what are you gonna tell them? And then also like how do you not struggle with comparison, like, based on like his life experiences? And just for her, it's like she's not a person of a lot of words, but her words always have weight.
That's right.
But like she would just simply respond in that, like why would I speak to myself the way that Satan speaks to me? And she's like, just the way that you loved me, it allowed me to love me. And like I had never been loved like that outside of my mom, you know? And because I saw myself as unlovable. And you loved me in a way that, like, yes, it was coming from you, but I know the source of your heart, and it was God. And it allowed me to see God. I'm like, man, if that's your heart for me, then who am I to disqualify what you said is true? Because your word says that you removed my sins from as far as the east is from the west. And Jesus said, not a dot, not an iota, my word will pass away until it's all fulfilled. So if I've placed my faith in Jesus, and I'm going to trust that he is who he claimed to be and did what he claimed to do, then I'm going to trust that if he affirms his word, so am I. And that was like in a moment, but it was like a memorial stone that I carried with me. And like, it allowed me to have like, it was like simultaneously, it thickened my skin, but it softened my heart.
I'm just thinking about the weight of what you just said, right? That because of the love that Hope showed you through the Spirit, right? In that particular moment, that it allowed you then to love and even forgive yourself.
Yeah.
And Hope, I'm thinking about somebody that might be watching or listening in today who's holding a grudge against maybe somebody that they love, that they care about. And, you know, it's interesting because in the mental health space, we talk about like betrayal trauma all the time, and we talk about bitterness and obviously rage and people who have been wounded.
Yeah.
But in this particular situation and in this relationship, it wasn't something that Josh directly did to you to offend you.
Right.
It was like years prior, and it was a past and a history. But I know a lot of people that, man, they hold on to that. And it's hard for them just to release that and just surrender that over to the Lord to say, again, you're not defined by the worst thing you've ever done. Like, hey, I forgive you. What did the process of even forgiveness look like for you, and recognizing that the only reason we can forgive is because we ourselves have already been forgiven? But what did the process look like for you?
I don't know that necessarily a process, because I don't feel like, I guess to me, it didn't ever feel like it was done to me, right? Like it wasn't directed at me.
Yeah.
Or even like we weren't together and like it wasn't a direct, I don't know. But then as we like got married and there were things that would like come out like online, and somebody would say something hurtful either about you or me or anything, like I could see how then it was like, okay, yeah, that is, I'm getting the like fallback of it, I guess.
Yeah.
So later on, I guess there was more like working through forgiveness, but still I never felt like it was like you did something to me. But like for women who, or I guess husbands, either way, who have had, you know, somebody do something to them. I just was thinking, like I was thinking about that earlier, and like practicing little forgiveness so that you can then, like when the big forgiveness has to happen, it comes easier. So if you're like easy to forgive, like I was just thinking like the other day you and Cannon were playing like football in the hallway, and you broke this, like I have like an antique chalkboard, and I was like,
for clarity, not Cannon, I broke it.
So anyway, I had this antique chalkboard that I like, and the football hit it, it fell down and broke, and I was just like, oh. Okay, it's no big deal, it's just an accident. But like inside I wanted to be like, oh, guys. But like, so practicing like little forgiveness so that when the big forgiveness comes, it comes a lot easier.
Yeah, like making forgiveness a habit
Yeah.
or a discipline in your life. Like you said, just even the little things, being willing to forgive, being quick to forgive.
Yeah.
So that way it's easier to work through that process.
Yeah.
Because like you said, sometimes it's not just a snap of a finger,
Right.
like you're forgiven. Some things come back up. Some
Yeah.
things get resurfaced, and it's still a choice, right?
But also knowing that like having the mindset that like forgiveness is the end goal. It's not an option. Like, especially in a marriage, like forgiveness, that is the goal, and we may have to work to get to the forgiveness part, but not that it's like I'm never going to forgive you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to now kind of chat with you even more, and you can build off that thought too of the idea of trust, because then forgiveness is something that is given, right? We teach this all the time. And when I'm sitting across from couples where maybe there was infidelity within the marriage, or maybe there was a past history and someone's struggling to let it go, forgiveness is given, but trust is earned. And I sat down with Dr. Henry Cloud at the World Conference recently, and he unpacked his best-selling book, Trust. And he talked about the 5 ingredients: understanding, so being willing to hear the backwater and the story; motive, like what was the reasoning behind some of the decisions that were being made; ability, do they have the ability to actually make the changes they say they're going to make? But then beyond that, it was track record and character. And when somebody's committed to a process of progress, then you're able to risk trusting again. The problem is when there are relationships that I've sat across from, and there's so much hurt, or there's so much that they're holding on to, that they're unwilling to risk being hurt again. And love requires risk. Speak to like the process of just trust within your relationship and how it was built.
Yeah, I mean, even as like high of a high it was, and you know, it's easy to get caught up in everything, but there was as things unfolded, there was a fear there. I'm like, gosh, like what if she just like decides one day like this is just too much, you know? Because like she was making she was being polite and like not making light, but like for clarity, just to give people a window into, because sometimes people are like, man, girls that were in that industry, they just get hammered online, and like it seems like, you know, if you just got a free pass, just to give you just a window into one thing. So I remember we just found out that we were pregnant with Cannon, and we were in the mall, and my phone was just like blowing up. And I'm just like, what is going on? And then I was just getting message after message after message, like check your Facebook, check your Facebook, check your Facebook. And then go on Facebook, and someone had created a fake Facebook account, and they had sent like pornography to literally every single person that she knows, like family, friends, like everyone. So we're in this because this was in response to like, we're having a boy, like we're having, you know, I don't even know if it was a boy, just like we were having a baby at that point. We didn't even know. Like,
I think maybe it was the gender. Yeah, like when we found out.
But it's like we go from like the highest of highs to like this like gut punch.
Yeah, same day.
And you just refused. You just refused to allow Satan to steal her joy.
Yeah.
And it would have been so easy for me to just like put my head in the sand. You know? And that's not the first, and it won't be the last time something like that happens. So for me to trust that you are who you say you are, and you do feel how you do feel about me, and know that like you also won't leave me. Like for us, you know, like divorce is not an option. And like we're truly one flesh, and like when you hurt, I hurt, and vice versa. And just like knowing that those were not just like things that we proclaimed when we got married, that it's an actuality that we're living in. It's like, yeah, I like when you say something, I believe you. And like that was earned over time. But it was also proved over time. It's like when our backs were against the wall, like she just refused. Not only did she refuse to give up on me, she refused to allow me to give up on me. Wow. And I think that's what, the way in which God designed marriage. It's like, like the terminology, like my better half. Yeah. It's like, man, like she sees me in a light that I don't even have the capacity to see myself. And if she looks at me that way and treats me that way, and compels and propels and sometimes like has to give me a kick in the butt to get me to where she believes God wants to take me, man, how beautiful is that?
Wow. Man, that brings me to tears. Just hearing the beauty of your guys' story and the grace and the forgiveness and the love and the acceptance that has been threaded through from beginning to now.
Yeah.
And I know that this has been a story that has played out for quite some time. Yeah. And I want to jump into like those early years. You talked about like the birth of your first son, Cannon.
Yeah.
And obviously the proposal story that you've shared several times is amazing, by the way. Yeah. Very sleek. I like that. Wedding day comes. You guys are now early in marriage, and I feel like there's obviously a call to ministry for you guys, and you guys are doing it. Like God is using you both in powerful ways. But when God is really tugging on your heart, JB, like to go into ministry, there's a lot of cost that comes with that. And I'd love to hear some of the costs you guys had to go through for the calling into this particular space.
So it literally cost us a lot. Like we literally had to write, a check because we were in the red. So we write that check, but like really, like we get there and, I was running a gym. I was doing personal training on top of that. Yeah. She was teaching. Yeah. So like we were living the good life.
Of course.
And then all of a sudden I step into ministry and now I'm an associate pastor at a church. And where we were living and the way that we're living, it didn't make sense because of how much daycare was going to cost.
Yeah.
And really, no flack against anyone that utilizes daycare, but just like for us, we're just like, it just makes more sense. Yeah. For her to stay at home and even more so, like that was a prayer.
Yeah, it was.
That you had.
And it was something I had always wanted. Like as soon as I had Cannon, and I think as soon as I was pregnant, I was like, I want to stay home with him. Wow. I was like, can I be a stay-at-home mom? And he's like, I'll make it work. Wow. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And somehow the way God made it work is you cut our income in a third. but we just, and we just, we made it work. Yeah. But it was hard. Yeah. And then all of a sudden COVID happens, and then there's a lot of change in our life, and you're wrestling with postpartum, and I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Yeah. I'm feeling now compelled to preach and teach, and I've got this experience in ministry, but like now what? Yeah. And then out of COVID, I start getting a few opportunities to teach, and then there was this moment where it was so funny. I was like, there was this new app, TikTok, and I'm like,
it was new.
I was like,
app.
And I was like, I feel like I should like post my like my story on there, and you're like, no.
Yeah, it was a hard no for me. I was like, no, I don't think so.
She's like this is for like kids, and what's on there is like pretty sketchy.
I still don't have TikTok, so I truly don't understand it.
But I was just like, man, there's just so many like teens and young adults on there, and I just like, I know who knows who I am. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just gonna share like this meme that was really popular, because there was this meme that was on like Saturday Night Live and like, shared hundreds of millions of times. And I was just like, I can just share a picture, not even a video, just a picture of that meme, just like a moment of it. And then I'm like, well, this is who I used to be. And then like picture of me getting baptized, me worshiping, and then us married, and then me preaching. And and then she was like, no. And I'm just like, and then I'm like, okay, I won't do it if you don't want me to, obviously. But I really feel like God will do something with this.
Yeah. And that's when I was just like, okay.
And, it was like, but it wasn't like, I don't want you to, but go ahead. But she was just, again, was just like, at first glance, hard no, but if you really feel like this, I trust you.
Right.
Yeah.
Was there fear that like he was going to be hurt or pounded for making that post?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only her, but we.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I think because we had kids at that point is where I was like, truly like, oh my gosh, like there's not just us, like we're adults and like, but like this is something that will, could follow them for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, my plan wasn't.
Yeah. But then also like to that point, like other than that one time at church, like I'm not traveling around like sharing my testimony. Like I'm just in traditional ministries. Like I'm weddings, funerals, like pastoral care, like making copies, like I'm just working at a church. So like in that, I'm just like this would really be like not pulling off a mask, but like saying like, hey, like this is what God is doing. So I did it and then went to bed, and we were actually at Christie's.
Yeah, we were visiting my sister in Nebraska.
And I did it, and I woke up that morning and it had like 6.4 million views, and I had 200,000 followers.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And I was like,
overnight.
I was like,
I think he like woke me up and like, fuck.
I was like, yo.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It really is.
And then after that, like some speaking, and then I was pretty consistently preaching at that church in we were living in in Cedar Rapids at that time, or in Ely, and so we were in Iowa, and trying to figure everything out, and just really feeling like, okay, I'm called to preach and teach, and so we're doing that in a local church.
And at this point, I had gone back to teaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were like doing this at home with 2 boys.
Yeah.
Like 2 little ones.
Yeah. And
But also I was teaching, I forget, so it's COVID, I was teaching online from our basement. Like what a blessing. Like I was able to like, and it's like I have a 10-minute break between my classes. Like I'm gonna go up and feed Lincoln. Like
and then I'm like doing like podcasts like down in the basement, like in between and stuff.
It was like such a weird
God's fingerprints were clearly all over the whole entire season though. Like even from where it didn't make any sense, his provision was evident throughout. And it revealed a greater purpose, because then like even from the TikTok piece to like your story begins to explode, and people begin to see the transformative power. Yeah, and
then we we get to the place where Tucker Carlson brings me out to Maine, and it's like I do he asked me all these questions like live on Fox, and I just think, I mean, praise God for how like people like my friend Nala and other people that, they come out of the industry and like right away they start sharing their story. They're not trying to teach. They're not trying to preach. They're saying, hey, here's what God's done in my life. But for me, I'm so glad that God never allowed me to have a microphone or an influence or an opportunity to say anything until I had something to say.
Wow.
And it wasn't me telling my story, it was me telling people the story in which God,
that's right,
what he did in my life. It was his story that he was writing in my life. So we go there and do that, and like literally, like because of that interview, all of a sudden, like I'm like, there's opportunities all over the place, and there's so many opportunities. We're in a place where like, man, I think, this is what I want to do. I think this is what God is calling us to, but it's going to require like you like quitting your job. And like your mom, again, in wisdom was like, kind of like you were.
This doesn't make sense. Like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Like how are you going to provide?
Financially,
like no 401k, no health insurance, like. You're just depending on people like requesting you to speak. Like that's gonna provide for you guys, and
it has.
and like God's like whatever expectations or hopes or dreams or I mean whatever I would say would be like best case scenario, like God's blown the roof off of that.
Man, and I want to lean into that for a second, because you talk about trust, like trusting God with everything that you're presenting forth and the plans, right? That you said, like you were somebody that was very structured. You had this beautiful idea of what you wanted life to look like, and then all of a sudden it got messy in the most beautiful way.
Right.
And I want to touch on this idea of like biblical submission within marriage, because like you being willing to give up your job and your position to be that stay-at-home mom, to help provide, to help homeschool and teach your sons at that time, to allow Josh to do what you felt like God was calling him to.
Yeah.
Like, what does this idea of submission really look like? And then I want to hear it from a wife's perspective, like what you learned. And then I want to hear it from a husband's perspective, because I think the weight's even greater, especially in your situation, because you introduced him to the Lord through church in a sense by inviting him there. But then as a husband, you're called to be the spiritual leader of a home. So there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't easy.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't think submission like ever is, but you have to understand like, well, I guess like I didn't want to take your role because I can't do your role. Like and if I try, it's not going to work out for anyone for the good. Like I can't be the leader of the household. That's not what God has like planned for me as the wife. So I can only do my job the best that I can so that you can do your job the best that you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like when I think that text out of Ephesians 5, it gets misconstrued in that, like, yes, like the wife is called to be in submission, but even in that terminology, it's submission. So like you're not to cower and yes sir. It's like, oh, I'm it's more like co-mission. It's like I'm gonna come underneath you, under your surrender submission to the Lordship of Jesus Christ, and I'm gonna believe that He's called you to something that you're gonna lead, but I'm gonna partner with you with, that you can't be the most effective you if I'm not surrendered and submitted to Him and I'm in alignment with you.
That's right.
And as the text goes on, guess what? The man, you're called to not only surrender, you're called to die as Christ has died for the church.
Right.
To every man who misuses that text, yes, your wife's called to submit, but you're called to die.
Exactly.
You know? So, but I think it's like, man, if it's like we see this in Genesis, like the tension of you wanting not to submit and me wanting to rule over you and there to be resistance, like that's in the result of the fall. And it's only in our submission to the Lordship of Jesus and allowing Him to lord over us and to work in us, can I lead you and can you submit to be? So it's like, it's not about you doing what I say. It's about believing God has said what is best, and we're going to fall in line with who He's called us to be and how He's called us to do it. In that, like, there are distinctions in roles, and there are, aspects of authority and headship and hierarchy, and it's God ordained. And if we fall into what God has ordained, there's going to be order. Where we don't fall into place where God has ordained, and there's a disorder, well, there's going to be destruction or dysfunction. So like that for me is like, I'm called to lead, and I didn't feel equipped, and there was struggle, and it's like the reality that your mom was like, this is not your best yes. Like, why don't you do something else? You could do a million different things. Why don't you like work back at the gym?
That was a hard conversation because I grew up like she was literally, I would have said like she was my best friend. Like I didn't have like best friends at school. Like my mom was my best friend, which I don't know how common that is, but so she was. And so what she had to say and her approval and like her opinion on things carried a very heavy weight. So when she was saying, are you sure this is what you want? I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Am I sure that this is what I want? And it was really like, do you trust God? To me, it was like, not her asking me, but in my mind, it was like, how much do you trust me? Like God was asking, like, how much do you trust me? And I had to say to my mom, like, we're trusting God in this. Wow. And that's when she was like, okay.
But I think what's been so beautiful in the story, like not because of me, not necessarily because of you, but because what God has done in our life is actually like elevated and amplified like your parents' faith.
Yeah.
Your brother and sister's faith. Not to say like, oh, like look at us, but yeah, look at God. Look at what God did. It was like in moments like that where she was being a good mom, saying, "Hey, this is pretty unorthodox. Like he's gonna like travel and speak, and people are gonna invite you in, and that's gonna like provide for your life and your kids. Like, you've got small kids. Like, this is this is crazy. And we were just like unequivocally like, I truly believe and trust, like, this is what God is calling us into. And the fact that she was like, I don't think this is best, but okay. Like, what God did to that has been awesome. And now, she's like our biggest fan, in that way.
Right.
It's like, I felt so proud, like, when, it's like, I had no idea. Like, I didn't send her my book, but like, when we went home and like, she had
it was like on her nightstand.
So
I was like, Mom, you're reading his book.
Let's go.
Yeah.
What I love about what you both are talking about as it relates to submission, though, it's this idea of trust. And when there's alignment, so like when the husband is really pursuing the Lord recklessly and he's becoming a man after God's own heart. And when you're in alignment there, it's really not just a wife being compliant to a man.
Right.
It's the wife being alignment, being compliant, and in a sense, obedient to the Lord first and foremost, trusting that the husband's just a conduit through which that same love and leadership and guidance from God is restored all the way throughout the entire marriage. Like you said, it's more like commission there. It's being able to do it together.
Yeah.
And so being able to recognize that is so important. And, I wanted to build off that just briefly. I could ask you guys a million questions. I really could. I mean, you guys have just fascinated me hearing your story more and more. But as it relates to the idea of like intimacy within marriage.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times secularly we think of it just as the sexual sensual aspect.
Yeah.
But like what intimacy really is so much more than compliance. It's really about the camaraderie. It's really about the compassion that is able to be extended within marriage. What have you guys learned throughout your marriage that others might ask, what have you learned about intimacy?
Yeah, I would say, man, when we went through premarital counseling, it was like, so it was this like group thing, but we had these like two like OGs. They were mentors, but they were in their 60s or 70s. He actually messaged me on Facebook the other day, but it's just like so cool to see, like 10 years later.
Yeah.
But we just sat and they were just like the moments the lights came on. It was like it's one thing to say, okay, I like take a spiritual like gifting assessment or like what's your love language.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's okay, like those identifiers, those are helpful for you and how you receive love. But, to the person listening out there, this is great marriage advice, where your spouse does not probably receive love the same way you do. And it's in our humanity that we want to give love the way that we receive it.
That's right.
So for me, words of affirmation, physical touch. Those are my primary love language, not her. And it's like, but it's like for her, she came from a very secure environment not that she doesn't appreciate physical touch or words of affirmation, but quality time was important to her. And that was really perplexing to me because I'm like, quality time, does that mean you have a quality gift? Is that a quality experience? Is that like, because really, it was me deflecting from something that it was pointing to. It was my belief that if I, like me and myself, was the thing that she wanted, well, how valuable am I? Like, what do I actually have to offer? Like, I could maybe give you something or do something for you, but if you're saying that the greatest present that I could give you is my presence, that's going to cost me something.
Right.
And that was true in that, like, you wanted, just a surrendered, undistracted, just me, just sitting there, just me and you, just hanging out. And that was like, there was so much tension in that. But what it has provided me was an understanding of, I do have worth. I do have dignity. And in the same way, like, when God created her, that He crowned her, with dignity and honor and glory, and but He did the same thing with me.
Yep.
And so, like, learning that, it allowed me to love her in a way where she felt loved, and not just like I did the things that husbands should do. But I actually listened and learned and like, man, you can connect with someone in a different way. But what it's going to require, it's like, well, if it's natural to me to tell you nice things and to buy you nice things, but you don't want stuff, you want me. Well, that's gonna cause me to surrender and submit. And I think that has been beneficial in our relationship.
Yeah.
But it's been beneficial as me as a dad. Because it was so easy if that wound wasn't unearthed, well, probably, and I still have the tendency to do it. It's like, go to Target and come home with a toy every time. Buy them something, do something for them.
Yeah.
Every night is movie night. Every night is pizza, like candy, games, toys. Do. Because, man, the only thing I wanted in this world was a father. So, man, I get the opportunity to be a father to 4 incredible boys. So I want to give them everything. But at the end of the day, they don't want stuff. They don't want stuff, they want me.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Yeah, they just want you to put them to bed. Just lay in
It's
bed with them.
like Cannon doesn't want me to do anything. He wants me to sit on the floor with him and play tic-tac-toe and look him in the eye. And it's like I could not have wrapped my head around giving myself to someone in that way unless I learned to do that with her. And that's the beauty of marriage. It's like it's God's picture of this triune union and this relationship that Jesus has with the church. It's this giving up yourself for one another and this growing in this unity that can only come from not trying really hard, but giving up of yourself and surrendering.
Yeah.
Wow. What a beautiful thought. Hope anything you'd add to that about intimacy?
I don't think I can top that.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Well,
Pretty amazing.
I would just say just really quickly
Yeah.
to someone listening, I think it would be really beneficial, and we get a lot of questions about this before we close our time, and maybe we need to do a part 2 one day.
Yeah.
But to the person that, I feel like we've had a kid every year, but it's like
Does feel like that.
we've been married for, going on 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
We celebrated 9 years in July, so we're going on 10 years.
Let's go.
And we got a 7, 5, 4, and 20-month-old. So it's like, you probably feel like you've been breastfeeding for 7 years straight. I think you actually have. But it's like, there's always a kid to be put to bed. I travel a lot. And it's so easy, and it has happened where there's been some disconnect because I'm doing my thing, you're doing yours, and we're trying to figure out how to parent, how to, all this stuff. And not that we've mastered it, but I would say this has been our best year yet.
Yeah.
And I would say, what would you say to someone that is in the crux of we've got young kids? It feels as if not necessarily we're in a place where we're living with a stranger, but gosh, if you ask me when's the last time we connected, I would have to think for a moment. Not even had sex, but when was the last time we connected? Why is that important to fight for? And what advice would you give to a couple out there?
So, fighting for it is the first hard step because it's so easy to just fall into especially when you're gone, I just do it. Because I have to. There's no other way. It's you just keep going. It doesn't matter how tired you are because there's 4 little boys that need me. So fighting for it is the first hard step and not giving up on that because it's not easy.
Yeah.
But then I don't know, just making time. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Maybe you can help me through it.
But I think just what we've done different this year is it's we could there's work that could be done at night,
Right.
or we could just veg out and watch Netflix, or
Sure.
maybe you have a spouse that when you're excited to watch something, you put a movie on, they fall asleep within 30 seconds.
Is that you?
Yeah.
But it's okay. If our kids go to bed at 8 and we've got this 90-minute window,
Yeah.
are you gonna say, oh gosh, the kids are in bed, let's relax, and I'm gonna veg out, or now I have time to do this, or I'm gonna fold this, or I'm gonna send this email, or you're gonna say, no, like this is our time,
Yeah.
and we're gonna spend it in a way that like we're gonna do a Bible study, or we're gonna read together, we're
like
gonna connect
talk.
together,
Just
we're gonna
sit
talk,
and
we're gonna
talk.
dream, and it's
Yes.
Like your date night doesn't have to be at like a restaurant or
That's
like
right.
the movie theater or whatever. Like your date night can just be like in bed at night.
Yeah,
Yes.
Talking.
and then sometimes it's like, even if it doesn't make sense, like we do date nights. Like we'll have Emmy come over and watch our kids from like 3 to 5 o'clock. You know, and it's
Yeah,
like
that's
that's when date
weird.
night makes sense for us. And it's like it's an obscure time, and it's only 2 hours. But like, gosh, like we love
Yeah.
those.
And you always feel like rejuvenated
and it's
after.
that's
Absolutely.
probably the easiest time to get reservations at a place that's like.
course. But it's true. If you want to stop fighting with each other, one of
Yeah.
the greatest ways is to start fighting for each other and prioritizing connection over convenience.
Yep.
A lot of times it's easy to fall, like you said, Hope, into the trap of convenience or into the trap of turning on the movie or watching Netflix or just
Like
doing whatever you got.
mind-numbing, scrolling.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And just losing sight of what matters most. But when you fight for connection, when you just sit down, like you were saying, Hope, and just are willing to look each other,
Yeah.
undivided attention, and just have a conversation and dive deeper than like how was your day?
Right. Well, and it's sometimes like as hard as like if I will commit to it, then I know you're going to commit back to me because you're like, oh, you care enough.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because like when you ask me how my day went, it's always like something like bizarre.
Well, let me tell you. Yeah.
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 And it would be so easy for me, like, oh, like, and I went and preached, and I would say like something that like shifted my mindset completely, and not to say that's not hard. It's like it's hard when we're both there with 4 kids. So like when like nights where she's there, by herself, it is hard. But when I would come home, she would be like, "How was it?" And I used to feel so guilty
yeah.
that I was gone. That I'd be like, "Oh, it's fine." And what I was doing is I was robbing her from the fact that I'm not called. We are called.
Yeah.
And who am I to withhold what God has done through our commitment,
That's right.
to our faithfulness? So I'm like, this is what God did, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and like that in itself has
Well,
been
it's
super
like it makes
healthy
it
as
like
well.
feel worth it.
That's right.
Right. Like when you'd come home and be like, oh, it's okay. It's like, oh my goodness. I was
Yeah,
like,
but I was-
but I
three
was-
long nights.
I'm sacrificing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was literally doing that out of guilt. It was a stronghold
Wow.
because I felt guilty for being gone,
Yeah.
and I wasn't gone to do something that I wanted to do. I was gone doing something that God had called us to do. And when I would say that has probably been the biggest shift in our life, and that's cultivated an interest in okay, what does it look like for us to pour into stuff? And we're next month we're doing.
I was gonna say, I know you guys are doing a couple of things.
Yeah.
Exciting.
That is exciting. How do you feel about it, Hope?
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
This has always been like his thing. So, and I always felt like I'll just be behind the scenes. But I feel like God has done so much recently. Like we said, we feel like we're in our best season in marriage. So it's like, why not share it?
That's right. Well, let me tell you this. You are incredibly gifted and talented at communicating as well. And you have a story to share because, again, it's a shared story.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to hear you guys unpack it today. And what I love about you both is that you not only honor the Lord in what you do in pursuing Him, but you guys honor one another very, very well. You guys complement each other so well. You are an incredible mother, right? You're an incredible dad. And I've watched and I've observed a lot of parenting, and you guys do it well. And you guys love all of those. To know you guys is to love you guys. And again, not one boy, Cannon, not 2 boys, Lincoln, not 3 boys, Judah, not 4 boys, Abel. Potentially, who knows how many kids you guys want?
As many as he'll give us.
As many as he'll give us. I love that. Let me say this as we wrap up. I want to conclude by asking Hope a question, and then I'll toss it to Josh, and you'll answer the question. Then you can close out the show.
Yeah.
But for you, Hope, what has it meant just to watch, again, the journey of your guys' life? And how has Josh and just the calling God has placed on his life, how has that impacted you and maybe deepened your faith?
Yeah, well, it's surreal, like nothing I would have ever have imagined. And to see him, I think I love you more and more every day, but I love you most as I'm watching you parent our boys. Like just seeing him, I know, makes me teary too. But those are the biggest moments, and I'm just like, okay, we could have 7 babies. because it doesn't matter how hard it is, because knowing that you are helping me raise these boys who are going to be a dad like you are.
What a beautiful response. Let me tell you that. There's an old James Dobson piece that says, life will trash your trophies. All that matters in the end is who you loved and who loved you. Right? And that's a beautiful reflection there. And Josh, I want to toss it to you and ask you the question as you look at your bride. What has it meant as you've literally clung to hope physically for her to reveal what it means to hold on to hope emotionally as well?
Everything. I think that, I mean, again, I love you more and more every day. And it's like I wake up to a world that I thought was not only out of my grasp, but impossible. I literally have a note that I wrote. I'll never be a husband. I'll never be a father. And there's no chance that my life will end up into anything, because all I wanted to do was like create stories and impact people regardless of what that was. I wanted to use my creativity and my passion for storytelling to reach people, to make them, smile or laugh or something. And I'm just like, man, that'll never happen. And I was so sure of that I didn't want to live anymore. And every day I wake up and I'm in the middle of, Ephesians 3:20, that God He stands ready to do exceedingly abundantly more than we could ever hope, dream, or imagine, because I never would have had the guts to conjure up or dream of the life that we have. And I mean, that's a word for someone listening, and that if you feel like you have blown whatever dream that God has put in your heart, the reality is you're not that powerful.
Yeah.
But God is.
That's right. That's right. Close out the show, my friend.
Yeah. I'll just say to the person listening to this, I can't wait to have another conversation with Hope and continue to ask those questions. But man, God will do the same thing in your life. Like, God stands ready to do exceedingly abundantly more than you could ever hope, dream, or imagine. And what's going to cost you? Everything, because that's what He paid on your behalf. That Jesus lived a perfect life. He died on a cross and He rose again, and that offers you everything that you need most. And on the other side of that, well, it'll blow your mind, and it's definitely blown mine. So I can't wait for next time.